Krishna devotees, welcome to Shloka a day. Today's Shloka is Shloka number 26 of chapter 1. Tatra pashyat sthitan parthaha
Tatra pashyat stithan pardaha
Pitranatha pitamahan
Pitranatha pitamahan
Acharyan matulan bhratran
Acharyan matulan bhartrin
Putran pautran sakhims tatha
Putran pautran sakhim stada
Swashuran suhradaschaiva
Swashruran suhrudaschaiva
Senayorubhayorapi.
Senayorubhayorapi.
Word for word meaning, translation, and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Tatra,
Tatra
there. Apashyat,
apashyat
he could see.
he could see
Sthitan,
Stitan
standing.
standing
Parthaha,
Pardaha
Arjuna.
Arjuna
Pitran,
Pitrin
fathers.
fathers
Atha,
Atha
also.
also
Pitamahan,
Pitamahan
grandfathers.
grandfathers
Acharyan,
Acharyan
teachers.
teachers
Matulan,
Matulan
maternal uncles.
maternal uncles
Bhratran,
Bratrin
brothers.
brothers
Putran,
Putran
sons. Pautran,
Pautran
grandsons.
grandsons
Sakhim,
Sakhin
friends.
friends
Tatha,
Tatha
two.
two
Shvashuran,
Shwashuran
fathers-in-law.
fathers-in-law
Suhradaha,
Suhridaha
well-wishers.
well-wishers
Cha,
Cha
also.
also
Eva,
Eva
certainly.
certainly
Senayoho,
Senayoho
of the armies.
of the armies
Ubhayaha,
Ubayaha
of both parties.
of both parties
Api,
Api
including.
including
Translation. There Arjuna could say,
there Arjuna could see
within the midst of the armies of both parties,
within the midst of the armies of both parties
his fathers,
his fathers
grandfathers,
grandfathers
teachers,
teachers
maternal uncles,
maternal uncles
brothers,
brothers
sons,
sons
grandsons,
grandsons
friends,
friends
and also his fathers-in-law and well-wishers.
and also his fathers-in-law and well-wishers.
Okay, let's read what Prabhupada says in the Prabhupada. Prabhupada writes, on the battlefield, Arjuna could see all kinds of relatives. He could see persons like Purishrava, who were his father's contemporaries, grandfathers Bhishma and Somadatta, teachers like Dronacharya and Kripacharya, maternal uncles like Shalya and Shakuni, brothers like Duryodhana, sons like Lakshmana, friends like Ashwatthama, well-wishers like Kritavarma, etc. He could see also the armies which contained many of his friends. Here, when Arjuna is taken between the two armies by Krishna as per Arjuna's desire, he begins to behold the opposite side. Krishna has done his bidding and says to him, "Look, O Arjuna, behold." At this point, things become very complicated for Arjuna. As he surveys both armies, he sees soldiers on both sides. He understandably expected to find loved ones on his own side, but what strikes him deeply is that many of those arrayed on the opposite side are people from his father's and grandfather's generation, Pitran Atha Pitamahan, the ranks of his teachers, Acharyan, his maternal uncles, brothers, sons, grandsons, and friends. Practically all genres of relationships one can imagine. They are all present there for Arjuna. Faced with this overwhelming sight, Arjuna is left with a perplexing question. What is he doing here and why is he doing it? Which is, what is Arjuna doing on the battlefield and why does he have to kill all these people? We are innately social creatures and we live as such. This means we have loved ones and we cherish reciprocating love with them. In fact, the joys we experience are often shared with those we hold dear. However, when we are forced to fight against our own loved ones, knowing that countless lives will be lost, it raises the question, why are we doing this? The twists and turns that life brings can sometimes be devastatingly distressing. Cruel indeed is the duty of warriors, for they must fight their loved ones. Supremely cruel, however, was Arjuna's duty at this moment, as he was facing not just one or two loved ones, but hundreds, even thousands of people, many of whom were destined to perish. So it's not like you're fighting one person or two people that you really know and you've grown up with or you've respected. But then here was a whole set of people, thousands and thousands of them. So certainly it can be excruciatingly difficult to make a decision at this point in time. Among them were not only his own well-wishers, but also the well-wishers of his well-wishers. If someone is our ill-wisher, we may feel justified in fighting against them. But when those we face are our well-wishers placed in opposition by circumstance, the battle becomes far more painful, right? If you genuinely don't like somebody, it's easy to fight with them and get over it. But when you like someone and they just happen to be on the opposite side of the fight, then it's going to cause you a lot of anxiety. In such moments, we feel as if we are fighting against circumstances rather than enemies. Let's take a closer look at the situation. Sometimes, those who would normally be friends, well-wishers, or even bosom companions end up, due to circumstances, becoming the worst of enemies. Sometimes this happens to some people. They're really close to someone and out of the blue something happens and then you become like bitter enemies. It has happened. Friends turn into bitter enemies due to some misunderstanding or something. Even if they don't become enemies by choice, they may find themselves placed in opposing camps, forced to fight against each other. In such cases, they are compelled to go against the natural tenor of their relationship and fight, which is far from easy. The only thing we can do in such situations is remind ourselves, educate ourselves, and accept that these circumstances are unavoidable. Sometimes we may do everything in our power to resist circumstances in an effort to avoid conflict with our loved ones. This is very true. especially if there is a conflict brewing within the family, you go out of your way to avoid it by appeasing or by ignoring. We use various tactics to avoid conflict. The Pandavas had done this to a great extent, which means they did their utmost best not to get to this place of this war. They had petitioned for peace in the most accommodating terms, yet they were rebuffed in the rudest manner, which means even though they asked for much less than what they really deserved legally, still their offers were refused by the other party. Left with no other alternative, they were compelled to fight. As long as the circumstances could be avoided, they did everything possible to do so. However, the war had now become inevitable. Yet, when Arjuna faced the brutal reality of the war, he once again found the circumstances unbearable and unacceptable. As we will see in the subsequent verses, Arjuna considers not fighting the war at all. Fighting to avoid the inevitable is ultimately a waste of time and energy. That means, anyway, whatever is meant to happen will happen. So trying to fight against what even nature is constructing to happen, it's like wasting time and energy. Sometimes one finds oneself caught in a difficult situation, akin to being trapped between the sea and the devil. Both options present significant dangers, making it challenging to choose the right course. In such cases, the best approach is to focus on progressing and fulfilling one's dharmic duties. For Arjuna, his dharmic duty was to fight, to uphold dharma. However, he faced a situation where he felt that fighting was impossible for him and found himself in an intractable dilemma. We will see that Arjuna will become overwhelmed. But the broader lesson for us is that we should strive to fight against circumstances that force us into conflicts with those we would normally avoid. However, there are times when such situations are unavoidable and leave us with no alternative. Sometimes you do your best to avoid really difficult situations, but sometimes you are forced to take a call and make a decision. And the decision is never going to be pleasant, because whatever decision you take is not always going to be satisfactory for all who are involved. Unpleasant courses of action can be and should be avoided as much as possible, but not beyond that. Which means if there is a call for you to protect dharma, then you have to do that. When the call of duty or dharma requires us to take such actions, allowing personal affection to interfere will lead to adharma. What led to Duryodhana and everybody on the opposite side? Because Dhritarashtra could not see beyond his personal affection for his sons, it blinded him to their faults. So you could say that Dhritarashtra is single-handedly responsible for the death of his own sons. He did not check them. He did not kick them out of the family because they were being adharmic. He was always trying his best to accommodate them. And that happened due to blind love for his sons. So much so he led them straight to the lotus feet of Krishna. So this was the dilemma faced by Arjuna, and the wisdom of the Bhagavad Gita will gradually resolve it for him. So this is the beginning, this particular shloka is the beginning of Arjuna's confusion, despondency, lamentation. And that's what we will hear in the future shlokas.
If you like our videos, please subscribe to our channel and turn on the bell notification. If you'd like to join our classes every day, please check the details in the description section of this video. We look forward to serving you.